Yeah, welcome you guys. It's good to see you and talk to you again. And Shaksani Keek and I are excited to teach you together today. And we wanted to open up by seeing if you guys have any questions or comments for both of us.
I just wanted to say I missed Tuesday because we were over at my Uncle Paul's house. He's also Queen Galt. But yeah, I made him a Valentine box like super late because they wouldn't take me to my uncle's house. So I just delivered that the other day on Tuesday. So I
No
missed.
problem.
It
No
was
problem.
like enough time, but like my grandpa got to talking with my Uncle Paul and they were talking for like an hour or more.
Yeah, nice. It's valuable time. Any more questions or comments to start us off?
Must have had all your questions answered on Tuesday, the introduction.
Yeah, I shared with Shaksani Keek some of the questions that you all asked me. A few of them, you guys had a lot of good questions on Tuesday about the self-introduction. I challenged you with the opportunity to practice reciting your self-introduction, and we all practiced it using the notes. One of our goals is to help you get there without using your notes. Um, and then also, you guys had good questions about asking how to say where I was born, where I grew up, and I went over those today in our planning period with Shaksani Keek. So if you have any more questions, it's a great time to ask her or both of us.
I have I have a question.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to make it. I'm sorry for the last few classes, but I tried to watch some of the video of the classes, and especially the one on the introduction. And I remember someone did ask, in the context of introducing yourself, when to acknowledge the opposite clan. So if I'm in more of a formal, public, non-Tlingit, perhaps, or non-Tlingit dominant event,
Hmm.
and I wanted to do a self-introduction in Tlingit style and Tlingit cultural thing, where would the acknowledgement of the opposite clan come in during that introduction? Would I introduce myself first and then make acknowledgement of the opposite clan, as opposed to the last time we were talking, we thought that we would acknowledge the opposite clan first before the self-introduction? Any thoughts there, Shirley?
Yeah, the important part of your introduction is uh, to introduce yourself and your
Yeah.
mother's clan, and
Okay.
then go to the opposite clan or
Okay.
opposite side of your father's people.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that
What I
comes
thought.
after uh, because of where matrilineal, uh, your mother and your clan comes first.
Yes, that's what I thought. Thank you for that. That is one thing that has been drilled into me since I was a kid is we're matrilineal. We're matrilineal. Know you're of your mother's people, etc. So yes, drilled into me that one.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you.
you really uh, can give honor to your father's side by
Yes. Okay.
telling him, and and it's actually just kind of mentioning my father.
Okay. Thank you. Gunishish.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. Because on Tuesday, I was telling you guys, I'm not sure, but I think you could do your father's people first. But when Chaksani Keek and I talked about it today, um, she mentioned that to me. I'm glad that you asked so that everyone could hear that you acknowledge who you are on your mother's side and then mention your father's people.
And
Should I do that still if my mother's side is the non-Tlingit side?
still, that's an important part of your introduction. If you want to include that, yeah.
Good questions.
It's of interest to whoever you're talking to.
And I was wondering too, so if your mother is non-Tlingit, technically she would have been adopted by the opposite clan anyway, correct?
Yeah, if she
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
I've talked to people where, and I think it's the fault of the father if they don't take the new spouse to be introduced to the people so that they can decide uh, about, and to come much later and say, I need to have my wife adopted, and then people look at each other, who's going to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, uh, I, a lot of times, in my case, when my husband landed in Huna and we were getting married, he was so charming and he just charmed a whole bunch of people and they wanted to adopt him right away. So that's what happened. So yeah, got to take advantage of that. Just charming enough to get to the right people.
That's right.
You don't have to ask, but what you can do is I'm getting married and he or she is not native. So what is your advice? Can you help me? What
Mhm.
to do an adoption?
Mhm.
And the adoption of the spouse is not a big public event.
Mhm.
It's just, between a few people talk about it.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Cheese.
Don't have to worry about, and that happens with your kids like you. It didn't get your spouse adopted, but now you have children, and it makes it harder to have the children because first you have to go through the process of adopting the spouse and then the children. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Cheese, Shirley, thank you.
Super helpful.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that my mom found a Tlingit name for me. But I think actually it doesn't really stick with me that much. It's KAT-GI-SHAH. I just I don't really feel a connection to it, but I do feel a connection to the name Houday that I talked about before. And so I think for now want to go by Houday, but maybe changing it once my mom talks to the elders in Alaska.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. Can you please spell it for me again?
Yeah, it's KAT dash GI
Uh-huh.
dash SHAH.
Oh, Katikisha.
Because my ex, who's Native American, he has a girlfriend named Charlotte, and she goes by Kat, and I think that's her also a native name that she has. So I just don't really want to go by that. But I do like feel now feel a connection to the name Houday, so I think I want to go by Houday.
And can you spell Houday for me?
Yeah,
That I have to look for because it's in my mom's messages somewhere.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Shirley.
you don't need the dashes.
Maybe
Okay.
Shirley knows how to spell Houday too.
Yeah, and SHAH, I probably don't need the last H.
I wonder if it's a double A.
Yeah, it could be if it's Shah,
Ah,
Mm.
Katkisha.
otherwise it's Shah. And that doesn't come across to me as probably included the H in order to get that ah sound.
Yeah,
It's probably a double A.
yeah. Shah. And then Kutki. It would be pronounced Kutkisha,
Yeah.
which is pretty different from cat.
Yeah.
If you did want to go by that name, just mentioning that it's pretty different from cat.
That's pretty easy to pronounce too.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful name.
Yeah.
Kutkisha.
Hmm. You think it's a beautiful name?
Yeah,
Shikuti. I do
uh,
too.
yeah,
Katki Shah. It's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
Hmm.
What does it mean? It's something woman?
Yeah, something women.
I think it's beautiful. I just don't really feel a connection to it.
Mm-hmm.
The GI might be a KI. K, Shah. Sounds like it might be a K pinched.
What did you say in your story again? You said that this name was given by what? How did you get Katki Shah again?
That's what my mom suggested, but I don't know how she found it.
Oh, it wasn't a name that was already given to you.
No, it's just something my mom found recently.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Well, it sounds very
Shinget.
yeah, it does. It's really a good sounding name. And it could be she heard the name when she was younger, but it sounds like a real Lingit name.
What about Houday? Do you know how to spell it, Shirley?
What
Um,
does Houday mean?
I think it means an owl that turns itself into the sun, looks into the sun.
Hmm.
I'm not familiar.
it's, well, an owl is Titsk.
Yeah, that's why I'm not sure what that I'm not sure if that's I've not heard the word Houday before.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if
Be
you
fun
have
to work on it.
Yeah, it would take me some digging around to try to find something similar. Not sure. Good questions, though. Good discussion.
How many people do we have?
We currently have 14 people, including you and me.
Okay.
So I'm taking a 6-hour bus ride tomorrow to see my brother's basketball game in Portland.
Okay. Shirley, were you saying something?
Yeah, we wanted to talk about the medicine today.
Oh,
Yeah. Um, so getting that conversation started. Shaksani Ki, did you want to share about the name Lingit Nagu?
Yeah. Yeah, somebody asked me because they wanted to get a new name, a native name for the medicine program they have here at the hospital. And I said it's what we would say would be Lingit Nagu. And I said I let her know that right away it probably wouldn't be accepted because of the word Lingit. But I think when we say it, we're saying it's native because we refer to other people. We see them even if we don't know what tribe they are. They are native. That means they're Lingit as far as you're concerned. So Lingit Nago means all it means is native medicine.
Mm.
So that of course they didn't use it.
Mm.
Because it seems like the university and also the hospital uh, people are very, very cautious about things like that. When I was teaching, I'm a Lingit, so what I know is to teach about Lingit stuff. But
Mm.
they wouldn't let me call it Lingit. They want me to call it native.
Mm.
So the classes that I taught always had the title traditional native something.
Yeah.
And I don't, I think with some explanation from the instructor
Mm.
um, that it's acceptable to the people, uh, other natives that are, so they could always speak up what they know, you know. So I've been in groups where there were mixed tribes,
Yeah.
and they're not afraid to share the same in the same way that you're doing, you know. So you
Yeah.
let them know I'm Lingit and here's what I know, you know.
Mm.
Then they can talk about what they know. So it makes it such a wonderful uh, group discussion.
Mm. Yeah, it makes it into an easy conversation too. It's like you share a little bit about what you know, and then someone else wants to chime in.
Yeah, it kind of triggers something that, you know, and that's what I'm hoping today that we can do that with all of you listening. Ringgit Nagu is in the books, our history books that people put together about us. They always refer to the shaman as medicine men. And that's really not true. We had people that did specifically medicine for wounds and for diagnosis and other things. And the shaman, I think, was more on the spiritual level. I'm not sure. Uh, my parents were religious, so they left that kind of information out of my training and knowledge. So it's mostly what I've seen and heard in the books. People sometimes ask me about shaman. I have to admit, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But one of the wonderful things that the that was done for medicine among our people
Hmm.
was um, they they did have people that were very, very knowledgeable about the body and about treatment. So there were, for the women and children, they had women. You can call on women to help with sick children or take care of women. And I don't think the medicine women did deliveries of babies. I think that was a separate thing that was done by other women that had knowledge about delivering babies. So I don't think you needed a person that was knowledgeable about medicine to help deliver, because they do other things, a lot of other things, examinations and treatment for the women. Then for the men, they had men that that took care of their needs, and also could include children. So I know that I witnessed the knowledge that the women had about the body. They seem to know exactly how the soft organs feel in your body, the position, if they feel all right, if they're everything feels okay in the examination. They can tell. So and I think they know treatment with plants and medicate different kinds of medication. I know that kelp from the beach was used as iodine for cuts, but you have to make sure you put a lot of oil on the wound before you put the iodine. The patient will shoot out of the chair. The iodine was so strong.
Oh,
Yeah, I think they used to dry it and then pound it into powder. And that was used as iodine for cuts, as far as I know. But it's you have to use very, very little.
hmm. What does iodine do for cuts?
The same thing that iodine does for you in your medicine cabinet to
Uh-huh.
your cuts. Mercurochrome and iodine
Uh-huh.
before you put the Band-Aid on. Yeah.
Okay. It
So,
just disinfects it?
yeah, it's I don't really know what it does, but
Yeah.
I think as we
Yeah,
talk,
it's a disinfectant.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what it does.
Yeah.
So as we talk and go along on this, you're going to find out what I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
In fact, you used to be able to buy iodine in little bottles that you'd paint on your cut before you put the Band-Aid on.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it being the color orange, and I remember getting
Yeah.
it on my skin as a child, but I never knew what it did.
And it's
Yeah.
kind of powerful to use just a few drops. And fortunately, I'm allergic to iodine.
Oh.
Never use it.
Oh,
Uh,
dang.
I'm also allergic to anything red, so I
Yeah.
can't get mercurochrome either. So
Oh,
I do what the old people did: wash the wound,
ouch.
and then and then cover it. I'm always doing that. I'm blind, so I stick my hand in the drawer for the knife. And sometimes the knife finds me before I find it.
Oh,
So I'm always getting nicks and
oh.
on my fingers, but it's not bad, just little scratches here and there, but
Yeah.
uh,
So one of the things that I learned, when I was growing up, um, I learned like, some of the things, like I learned how to make cough syrup and out of like blueberry branches and like alder bark and can't remember what else we used, Devil's Club. And I know, we always drank Devil's Club and Hooligan oil, but, and then I know we always put, alder leaves inside of our shoes when we were hiking. And it
yeah,
would revive our feet.
yeah.
But the one thing I was trying to remember all the medicines that I learned from like Eva Davis and Ida Kadashan and Amy Marvin and those guys who taught us. But one of the things I can't remember, there was like this white flower that grew in the marsh, it's kind of like on the water, a white flower. And if you take that flower and put it in your pocket, you can, it's like create a, what do I want to call it? It's like that, it, it, it's like attracts attracts a husband for you.
Oh, wow.
Oh, hey.
I can't remember, but I remember that
Why didn't you
the
tell me?
elder ladies would tell us about it.
Yeah. At the mention of Hooligan oil or grease, I was they had a ferry that went from Huna to Juneau, and there was always a lot of us that would go, and the ferry came late at night, so I went in and I got a spot so I could lay down and just rest for the night. And at the head of where I was laying was this person from Huna talking to a young teacher, and he said, talking to how do you like how do you like your job? How do you like the school? And he said, fine. I'm really new. He said, when and I have never done any teaching before, and when I got here, he said the principal was really kind and was sharing information. And after he finished talking to me, he said, these people are really, really nice, all of them, the children, everybody. But the thing about them is they always smell like oil. And so he said, that's one of the things that the principal shared with him. So he was talking about his experience as he went along. He said, during the middle of the winter, he said, I began to not feel too good. I'm not 100%. So I was taking a walk, and I ran into the old man, George Dalton, and George greeted him and said, "How are you doing, young man?" He said, I'm doing fine." And so they got to talking, and he revealed to George Dalton that how he feels, and he was wishing he could feel better. So George Dalton said, "Come with me." So he took him to his house, and out of the refrigerator he pulled this small jar, and he said, "Here you are." He said, take this and take a spoonful every day, and but keep it in the refrigerator. So he said, okay. So he started him taking it. And he said, and that really improved his feelings and his health. And so the person who was talking said, it really worked. He said, yeah, I'm still doing it too. And I was
Mm.
thinking to myself, yeah, now you probably smell like the rest of us. But that was hooligan grease.
Mm.
It was used a lot for like a daily
Mhm.
vitamin thing rather than take cod liver oil, take that. And, and it's so delicious anyway to
Yeah,
me. Yeah,
yeah.
no.
Mm.
So that was not like a wound, or examination or anything. It's just talking about how you felt and what was needed. So apparently, what he got was a good treatment, and it was out of the mouth of a person that was not native. So it was really good information for me. So
Mm.
yeah.
So smart.
And you would say ooligan oil? How would you say ooligan oil?
Hooligan grease, yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
in Lingit.
yeah. If you uh, keep it refrigerator, it becomes a little more solid, so you can
Yeah.
scoop it up easy with a spoon.
Mm.
Yeah, it's hard to get. Haynes was the master people for making and trading that and selling. So,
Mm.
uh, and we used to have a small barrel of it outside the house. And my mom used to say, go get a bowl of this grease, and I'd scoop it up all nice and white and solid. It was beautiful.
Mm.
Wasa idu asak Lingit ooligan oil grease oil.
Corey, were you going to answer that?
I can try. I believe it's Sak Efi Kusha.
Yeah.
Ah,
Sock.
Echi.
Sock,
Echi.
yeah. Sock grease from
Echi.
the sock, the the fish that they get it from. Yeah. And
Gonna.
it really, really is a lot of work. It used to be, I think, that they would get this very, very, in fact, I think the white people call it candlefish. And I'm not sure, it might be the fish that we call hooligans here, I'm not sure. But
Mm.
very, very fat. And they would take it and have a special canoe for it. I'm talking about something I heard about, so I don't want to give misinformation, but uh,
Mm.
because my mother was from Haynes, I kind of heard things about how it was done. That I think sometimes they ferment it, and then they put water uh, in the canoe, and then put hot rocks in to make the water hot, and that
Mm.
makes the fat rise to the top, and that's the part they scoop up.
Yum.
It's so clever to do it in a canoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had these. I think they had these special canoes that they used for that. Uh, a very good container. Yeah.
One of my friends, Dashjini Mary Cruz Folletti, goes to Haynes or Cluckwan every year for harvesting sock or hooligan. And she taught, I haven't done it with her. She invites people to go, but she talked about digging pits too for the fermentation process. Is anyone familiar with that?
Yeah, we actually had the pit out at Culture Camp. We've had
Oh,
one there forever, like it's been there for generations and generations, and we have a pit, and then we kind of build it in the embankment, and then what we do is we have a cut off like oil drum that you can build the fire underneath, and then you fill it with water, and then you take they used to have the canoes all filled with the ooligan, and then you would shovel them into the, well, first of all, you'd shovel them into the pit. We have a pit that's in the ground, a wood box pit into
uh-huh.
the ground. And
Okay.
then you would ferment it, how many days you want to ferment it. And some people like 4-day ferment, some days people like 6-day ferment, depends on the
Uh-huh.
weather and like how cold it is and whatever.
Yeah.
And then once you got to the fermented point that you wanted, then you go to this oil drum, cut off oil drum thing that's kind of by it, and you build the fire and filled it with water, and you then shovel the hooligan into that, so then you seep out the oil, and ladle the oil off the top and fill your jars with it, and
Mhm.
that's kind of how you do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to feed my kids hooligan grease every day, when they
Yeah.
were growing up, and they don't get sick even today. They just don't really get sick. Their immune systems are pretty good.
Yeah, and it tastes so much better than cod liver oil.
Is
So
there any kind of a Tlingit cookbook? Because that would be amazing.
There is a couple of Tlingit cookbooks. I know Huna did one, and Goon did one. The A and S sisters used to they have a really old version of one. But I don't know if any really I don't know about any newer versions of them. I just know that, well, I think Search did one too, a smaller version of like native foods and their nutritional value and how to prepare them.
the
That's really cool.
the the work that was done in studying the nutrient value of native foods was very simple because of the funding it takes to find all of the nutrients that are available in the foods. So they tried to study native foods from all over Alaska. So Tlingit food was part of it, but because we're really different too, so makes it kind of interesting to look into that. Yeah. So before we use up our time, I wanted to also talk about my mother. My mother, her marriage was arranged when she was just still a teenager. And I think after she was married for a while, her face, half of her face uh, became paralyzed. And her eye was drooping and her lips were sagging, and her that part of her face was just dead. And she was really, really didn't want people to see it. So she always tried to cover it with a scarf. And my dad, in the people that he knows, he found a friend that he hadn't seen for a long time and invited him for dinner. So here's my mom trying to cover her face and at the same time take care of the guests. And so they visited and had dinner. And after the dinner was over and man was getting ready to leave, he called my mother over and he took her hands and he said he noticed, that she was having that trouble with her face. And it didn't seem to affect her hands, but she um, kept using the scarf, and he said um, that he knew that there was two reasons why a face would get paralyzed. He said, I have medication that can take care of one of them. He said, it only works for one kind. So he said, I'll go to the boat and I'll get the medicine and have you try it and see if it works. So he brought it to her and gave her instructions as to what to do. And she was so excited. And so she got on it immediately and followed his instructions and completely treated her, that side of her face. And miraculously, it worked. She, it, her paralysis was gone.
Whoa.
And what happened was she forgot to treat her forehead. She treated only from her eyebrows down. And so for the rest of her life, she had that part of her forehead that was, it never had the feeling in it.
Hmm.
So, but I don't know what kind of medicine it was, or if the medical field today knows if there's two reasons, probably a stroke and something else that would cause the paralysis like that. She never said that I got real sick and then I woke up and my face was, never said anything like that. It's just that she had it and she really, really worried about how she appeared to the public. So, yeah, that was always in my head to wonder about that kind of thing.
Hmm.
She would have been the envy of all of the women these days getting Botox so their forehead doesn't wrinkle.
Yeah,
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 I've heard of that too.
she was so pretty anyway. And
Oh.
then I could see how important that would be. And she didn't have trouble talking, and her face was just real normal looking. So yeah, that's something I heard, and I have no idea how or why it worked.
Kunako Nashish, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, there was as we go along, you're going to realize that I know nothing. So the stories that I have that are real, when I was a kid, if the saying about frogs causing warts,
Yeah,
that was really true. My brother and I, we used to play with frogs.
yeah.
And so in the palms of both of my hands, all these warts. I mean, it was
Oh.
just a lot of them.
Yeah,
Uh, and I was around my older sister. I had an older sister that was almost as old as my mother because from my dad's first marriage.
Oh.
She said, "What are you doing?" Because I was picking on them in the words, and she said, "What are you doing? Let me look at it." So she was looking at my hands and inspected it. The tops of my hands were not involved at all. And she said, "I want you to go home and cover both of your hands with seal grease and then go find some newborn puppies and have them lick it off."
What?
So, boy, I knew exactly where to go because I'd been just playing with some puppies that I discovered under the house.
Oh.
I put the grease on there and I crawled into the dark and fortunately the mother was real friendly. So the puppies came running over and they uh, started licking my hands and I let them lick uh, all the oil from the top of my hands, the palm of my hands, everywhere. And then I could hardly wait to get back out in the light so I could look at my hand. And I finally crawled out of that dark space and looked at my hands. All the words were still there.
Oh.
And and I thought, oh well, you know. So I spent the day, and then the next morning when I woke up, my hands were both completely clear, completely no indication that I ever had warts on my hand.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know how it works. People ask me, was it the oil or was it the puppies? I know. Uh, it, if it's one or the other, she didn't say. She didn't say just put the oil on it. It'll go away. You know. She said, no, you had to find these puppies to lick it off.
I had warts too, but I had to get them frozen off.
Yeah.
I think the puppies is a better option.
Yeah.
That's easier. I had warts recently and on my fingers, and I went to the doctor and they tried to freeze it and it just wouldn't go away. So this doctor said, I know how to handle it. People don't realize that you first you need to clear the tops of the warts, and then he said you have to do it 4 times and before it works. So I went to him and he would take a knife and cut into the warts on my fingers. And so we were talking and he was working on it and he said, does it hurt?
Yeah.
Of course it hurts. So, but anyway, after 4 times, uh, you carve it and then you freeze it or burn it. And each time my fingers were bandaged up. After 4 times, I was so anxious and I looked, the warts were still there.
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah.
didn't have any seal grease or puppies, hey?
Puppies, yeah. So
It
But-
reminded
yeah.
it reminded me of
Go-
I was also taught that when you get like when people have a bad burn, like they get burned from a fire or a bad burn, we would put cold seal fat and lay it on it and wrap it on it, and then that way it would heal without a scar.
Yeah.
Oh, I've
Maybe you
heard of
could've done
that too.
Oh.
Now, if, in the future, if you have a problem, put the seal grease on there and go to the shelter. Where the
Get yourself a puppy.
have any new puppies?
It's for my war treatment.
Maybe we can get Nagu. So no idea.
What I found out was that all the other doctors that tried to burn my warts off weren't doing it right. And so I finally got this good doctor and she did it like one time and they were off in like a week.
Oh.
Yeah. They're pretty hard to get rid of.
Mm.
Uh, I kept thinking, if I had new puppies or maybe even a cat, I don't know.
We would try it in a pinch.
I'd try it.
In a pinch. Use a cat in a pinch.
That
Such a
would
great story.
be something. You come in with this hands full of grease to the shelter and say, "Do you have any new puppies?" I have
You
a
can
treat. I have
you
I have a treat for them.
You have a treat for them.
It's a win-win.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, I think it's the other story is something you guys already know and agree about. Is we were walking on the beach, and my mom and my brother and his wife and their kids, and apparently we weren't trying to be quiet or anything. It was really a nice day too, nice and sunny, and kids were chasing each other. And then the oldest boy fell, and he put his hands down to catch himself, and he gashed his whole palm. And so my mom took a look at it, and she told my brother, have him go to that stream and wash it. And she took a knife and went into the woods. And so after he was all cleaned up, she came out, and it was, I'm pretty sure it was from Devil's Club
Mhm.
medicine. And she had a handful of it. So she just put it on there, and they wrapped it with a handkerchief or something we had. And so when we got back into town, it was too late to get a plane. So the next day, um, the weather was too bad, and he couldn't get a plane to go. So finally, on the third day, the plane came, and he went in to see the doctor, thinking, okay, it's going to be a lot of stitches.
Mm.
And so he still had the Devil's Club medicine on there. And so the doctor said, okay, what is it? And I said, the nurse said, well, it's a big gash, but he's got some kind of medicine on there. So he said, okay, let me take a look. So he looked at it, moved the medicine. He looked at it, put it back. He said, wrap his hand up and send him home.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Dang.
So they left. Gave him instructions about how long to keep it on there.
Oh,
nice.
And he never had to have stitches on his hand.
wow.
Traditional medicine will win every time.
Yeah. You know how to work it.
My aunt was walking through the bush and she got her axe stuck in her shin.
Mm.
And she went to a tree and she pulled some of the pine sap off and chewed it, and then she spread it over the wound, and she's had never had a cleaner healing wound ever.
Yeah.
Oh, the medicine's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it was a big study for the Clinkets. They really kept up with the plant study, the medicine men and women were very knowledgeable about plants and how to use it. And also apparently studied the anatomy of people. So one time I saw all these women standing, looking really worried outside the house, and pretty soon, the medicine woman came out of the house, and they were real anxious to hear because they knew that the the uh, the chief's wife had been very ill,
Mm.
and she said, "I examined her, and her body is just full of lumps,
Oh no.
and so she's not gonna, not gonna make it." And that was true. So, um, and that was without a doctor, so or a nurse.
She was the doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
We're at time, Shaksani Keek, but thank you so much for sharing and hosting such a good discussion. Thank you everybody for contributing.
Yeah, I hope that it will impress you enough to try to do some research on your own on some of these things that we used to know and do. I think the medicine women and the medicine men kind of gave up because of the introduction of new sickness, such as mumps and measles and TB, and they didn't know how to treat that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I imagine after some study they could have been able to, but they also were infected by some of these problems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my great grandmother Carrie Jackson was the last medicine person in Teslin, Dechlin, and she delivered over 200 babies.
Yeah,
Wow.
Whoa.
that's
Ah,
that's what my mom did too. She delivered. She knew so much that my dad finally said, "Okay, that's too much work because a lot of times you have to go in the middle of the night." And
mhm.
he said, "I want you to just start taking it easy." So then I was visiting, and the phone rang, and they said, in a panic, "We need to find out about what to do with the baby's cord." And um, she said, "Just use some string. If you don't have string, use shoestrings, but make sure you boil it before you use it."
So
So
smart.
the phone rings again, and all in a panic. "Gotta have help. Gotta, you know, all excited." And over, the phone kept ringing, and it said, finally, my mom said, "Okay, I guess I'll have to go up there." So I went with her, and they told her the girl was in the bedroom. She was really having a lot of pains. My mom went in there, and after she was in there for a while, she came out and said, "She's not going to have a baby right now.
Oh.
She's just tired."
Uh-huh.
And, so, and they uh, told my mom, they said, "That's not true. She's been in pain for all this time, and the baby will be delivered." And I said, "No, not tonight. There's gonna be no baby." So 10 days later, she had finally had her baby. But so just without examination, just by talking to her and looking at her, she was able to diagnose that she wasn't ready to deliver, just tired.
Well, thank goodness for your mother.
So,
Ja, kurze Lingit.
yeah, no.
Thank
There's
you.
always two women two women to deliver.
Oh.
I used to have to go with my mom because she didn't like to be out there at night by herself.
Mm.
So I had a little pillow and a blanket, and I would just make my bed and go to sleep.
There you go.
Good discussion. We're a little over on time, but this is so good to hear all your guys' input. You're slow to warm up as a class. When we start talking, any questions or comments, it's like really quiet. And then right at the end, everyone has something to say. So I just want to encourage you to chime right in the beginning. Don't be shy. Shirley and I are here to support you and help you and cultivate your learning journeys. So don't be shy.
And we'll let you know. We'll let you know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So,
See you guys on Tuesday.
Okay.
See
Thank you.
ya, Yanaka.
okay.
There's my grandpa.
Okay.
That's a nice classroom.
Yeah.
Have fun in Hawaii.
I will. Thank you. I'll be
Bye.
gone next week, but Shirley will be here to take care of you guys.
Yay.